She doesn't miss you because you kept checking in. She misses you when you stop showing up, and somehow, your absence lingers louder than your presence ever did. You think she needs more words. But the truth? She needs to feel what life feels like without you. This is how to make her miss you without saying a word. If you're serious about leveling up your dating game and understanding what really moves women emotionally, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe and tell us in the comments, what's one thing you've been getting completely wrong with women without even realizing it? 1. You stop bleeding your energy all over her world, let me guess. You think you need to go quiet so she wonders where you went. But that's not what makes her miss you. What gets her isn't the silence. It's what the silence reveals about you. Because silence that's rooted in insecurity, it's loud in the wrong way. It reeks of desperation, of calculation, of please notice I'm gone. And we do notice, but not in the way you want. The goal isn't to pull back so she starts chasing. The goal is to stop hemorrhaging your energy all over her feed, her phone, her consciousness, and start keeping it for yourself. That's when she feels it, not your absence, your transformation. You want to know how to make her miss you? Make her feel the difference between a man who's orbiting her universe and a man who's finally returned to commanding his own. There's a guy I used to know, we'll call him Marcus. Marcus didn't blow up my phone. He wasn't clingy in the obvious ways. But his energy? It hovered. Like he was always on the edge of needing a reaction or making sure I saw his story. There's this anxious frequency you feel radiating from someone even when they're not actively pursuing. But then he stopped orbiting. No coldness, no games, no passive-aggressive energy, just pure, clean stillness. Suddenly, he wasn't reacting to my posts within minutes, wasn't watching every story I put up. He stopped trying to make sure I knew he was still there, still available, still hoping. And that's when I started noticing he wasn't. It wasn't about what he stopped doing. It was the energy he reclaimed for himself. Like he finally realized he didn't need me as a mirror for his self-worth anymore. And that is what made me miss him. Because presence isn't just physical, it's energetic. You've been leaking attention and calling it connection. But she can feel the difference between genuine presence and anxious hovering. When you stop chasing her attention, 2 things happen. First, she no longer feels your energy crowding her space, making her feel obligated to respond. Second, she starts wondering where that familiar energy went. That wondering? That's the doorway to missing someone. You're not supposed to disappear like a punishment or a manipulation. You're supposed to reappear in your own life, like a man who finally realized she was a beautiful part of it, not the desperate center of it. Stop performing proximity. Start embodying genuine presence. Go create something meaningful you never told her about. Go fix the thing that's been broken in your life longer than she's been in it. Let your energy come back to you so powerfully that she feels the absence of it like a silence that communicates more than your words ever could. 2. You become predictably unpredictable. Let me ask you something. When did she stop checking her phone as eagerly for your messages? It's subtle, right? One day, she was replying fast, engaged, curious. The next, her responses became delayed, dry, mechanical. You thought it was about something you said or didn't say. But it wasn't your words, it was how utterly predictable you had become. See, consistency builds trust and security. But predictability? That murders curiosity stone dead. She knew your every move before you made it. The good morning text at 7:30. The what are you up to at lunch? The 11 p.m. sweet dreams beautiful like clockwork. Sweet, safe, reliable, but also boring as hell. Because here's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to admit. If she can map out your entire day before you even live it, what's left for her to wonder about? And if she's not wondering about you, she's definitely not missing you. Now don't twist this into game-playing territory. This isn't about withholding affection or ghosting her into submission. It's about disrupting the emotional rhythm that lulled her out of feeling anything real. Unpredictability doesn't mean chaos or inconsistency. It means contrast. It means emotional texture. There was this guy, I wasn't even particularly into him at first. He was charming enough, sure. But what caught me completely off guard wasn't anything dramatic. It was one random Thursday afternoon when he sent me a song. No context. No follow-up explanation. Just a link and the words, "This reminded me of something." That's it. I spent the next 2 hours trying to figure out what the hell that something was. Was it the lyrics? The melody? A memory we shared? Something about me? Suddenly, I wasn't just scrolling through my day. I was searching for clues about his mind. That's exactly what you want to create. Not a woman waiting for your text out of routine or obligation, but a woman genuinely wondering what version of you she'll encounter next. So here's how you do it without being weird or erratic. First, disrupt your own patterns intentionally. If she always hears from you at night, message her in the middle of the day. If you usually text, leave a voice note. If you've been quiet, post something subtle but evocative, a quote, a location, a photo that doesn't explain itself fully. Second, give less clarity and more curiosity. That doesn't mean being vague or manipulative. It means offering glimpses instead of full explanations. A man who gives everything away too easily gets forgotten just as fast. Third, stay emotionally congruent with who you actually are. Don't pretend to be mysterious if mystery isn't natural to you. Be unpredictable because you're genuinely living a full life she doesn't have complete access to. Here's the crucial shift. Predictable men get acknowledged and filed away. Unpredictable ones get studied. You want to know how to make her miss you? Stop giving her a version of yourself that she can predict, categorize, and file away in her mental drawer. Start giving her moments that make her pause mid-scroll and wonder what just shifted in your world. You're not just another message on her screen. You're an emotion she didn't expect, a pattern she can't decode, a presence that doesn't follow the usual rules, but still makes her feel safe and intrigued. 3. You let silence create what words never could. You know what's brutally ironic? The more you explain yourself to her, the less she actually feels you. Because most men, when they sense emotional distance, do one of two predictable things. They either chase harder with words and explanations, or retreat completely with resentment and bitterness. Neither approach makes her miss you. Because if she's emotionally pulled back, your words don't reach her anyway. They just bounce off the protective wall she built the moment she started doubting whether you even truly saw her as a person. So here's what most guys get completely wrong about no-contact strategies. They think silence is about punishment or manipulation. But the real power of silence? It's what it invites into the space, not what it withholds from her. Silence gives her something words never could: space. Space to feel without pressure. Space to remember without being reminded. Space to genuinely miss your presence. Because here's the truth no dating guru wants to admit: female emotional psychology isn't activated by what you say to her. It's activated by what she feels in the space you leave behind. That might sound poetic or abstract. It's not. It's biological and psychological. The feminine mind is naturally wired to read into nuance, the pauses, the subtleties, the meaning between the lines. But if you're constantly filling in every blank with explanations, she never gets the chance to interpret or wonder. And if she can't interpret and wonder, she can't emotionally miss you. I remember this one guy, we weren't official, but there was definitely something building between us. He could sense I was pulling back emotionally, creating some distance. And instead of giving me space to process, he started explaining everything. Long texts about his feelings. Voice notes clarifying things I never asked about. Explanations for behaviors that didn't need explaining. It wasn't bad or wrong. It was just emotionally heavy and suffocating. And all that openness and communication, it didn't make me feel closer to him. It made me feel trapped and obligated. Like now I had to respond to his vulnerability, not because I genuinely wanted to, but because I felt guilty and manipulative if I didn't engage with his emotional labor. That's not emotional connection. That's emotional obligation and coercion. Now contrast that with another guy, someone naturally quieter and more self-contained. When he sensed things shifting between us, he didn't explain or defend himself. He just stopped trying to control the narrative. Not rudely, not dramatically, not with passive-aggressive energy. He just left space where his words used to be. And you know what happened in that space? I kept replaying our last real conversation, wondering what it meant, thinking about the way he looked at me before we started drifting. Not because he said anything particularly profound, but because he didn't try to manage my emotional process. And that space? That's exactly where missing someone happens. So here's the practical move. Instead of texting, I feel like something's off between us, go quiet, and let her feel whatever's happening without your commentary. Instead of asking, what are we? Let the undefined space between you echo louder than your need for answers. Silence, real, grounded silence, is only powerful when it's backed by genuine emotional stability. When it communicates, I'm still here and I care, but I'm not begging for your attention. I notice the shift, but I respect your process. I feel the distance, and I'm not going to explain it away or force intimacy. 4. You stop reacting and start revealing. Let's get brutally honest about something. Most of what you do when she starts pulling back isn't actually for her benefit. It's to manage your own anxiety and fear of loss. You double text when she doesn't respond fast enough. You check her Instagram story for clues about her mood. You send the casual, just thinking about you, message pretending to be sweet, but really, you're trying to reattach to something that's already letting go. That's not masculine presence. That's panic with punctuation marks. But here's the shift that completely flips the dynamic. When you stop reacting to her distance like it's an emergency and start revealing authentic parts of yourself she never had access to, that's when everything changes. Because attention-seeking behavior is loud and obvious, but genuine self-expression? That's magnetically attractive. There's a world of difference between look at me and this is who I am. One demands her attention. The other naturally attracts it. You don't need to put on a show or perform healing. You need to share without attachment to her response. So how do you actually do this? First, stop posting reactive content. If your social media suddenly goes from dormant to look at how happy and unbothered I am, she'll smell the performance and manipulation from miles away. Second, create and share without explaining or seeking validation. Maybe it's a photo that shows your artistic side, a song that reveals your taste, a piece of writing that exposes your thoughts. Maybe it's just you finally going to that rock climbing gym or open mic night you've been talking about. Whatever it is, don't do it for her reaction. Do it so you remember who you were before your identity got wrapped up in her attention. Third, let her observe your growth, not interrupt it. Don't send her the link to your new project. Don't DM her updates about your progress. Just live out loud authentically and let her discover the parts of you she never fully understood. When you reveal something quietly real, something you didn't weaponize for validation or manipulation, she doesn't feel pressured or obligated. She feels genuinely curious about you as a person. That curiosity, that's the slow burn that actually works. That's what brings her back into your orbit, not because she was manipulated or pulled, but because she wandered back wondering what else about you she might have missed. You disrupt her emotional pattern by breaking your own. You know what keeps a woman emotionally engaged with a man? Disruption of her expectations. Not chaos, not drama, not mind games, but genuine emotional contrast, the kind that makes her stop whatever she's doing and feel something unexpected. And here's the truth you've probably never considered. She doesn't miss you as a person. She misses the version of you that used to surprise her emotional system, move her, challenge her assumptions, create feelings she didn't see coming. But when your behavior becomes a script she can recite in her sleep, there's nothing left to emotionally react to. Nothing left to chase or wonder about. So how do you flip this dynamic completely? You break your own damn patterns intentionally. Because here's what most men do when they sense things slipping away. They double down on consistency. More effort, more reliability, more of the exact same energy that already stopped creating emotional impact. It's like turning up the volume on a song she's already tired of hearing. You're not moving her emotionally. You're just being louder and more desperate now. When someone breaks their own established rhythm, you can't help but pay attention again. Your brain is wired to notice pattern disruption. So how do you use this principle ethically and effectively? First, identify your current loop with her. Are you always the initiator? Always texting first, planning dates, asking how her day went? Are you always available when she reaches out? Second, interrupt that rhythm intentionally. Not to manipulate or punish, but to create genuine emotional contrast. Instead of asking about her day, don't say anything and let her wonder. Instead of initiating weekend plans, take space and make your own adventures. Third, introduce authentic emotional texture to your life. Do something genuinely different, creatively, socially, emotionally, and let her observe it naturally. That could mean going to an event without inviting her, posting something more introspective than usual, or simply not showing up in the spaces where you always do. The point isn't to disappear or play games. The point is to shift the emotional stimulus you represent in her life. You're showing her a version of yourself she didn't factor into her mental model of who you are. And that moment, when you break her expectations, that's when she starts replaying interactions in her head, starts questioning what changed, starts genuinely missing the man who stopped feeding her routine and started reclaiming his authentic edge. So, you create space without punishment. Let me make something brutally clear. She doesn't miss the guy who disappears out of spite or manipulation. She misses the man who steps back without bitterness or resentment. Because the second your silence feels like a weapon aimed at her, she stops missing you and starts defending herself from you emotionally. And the whole dynamic flips into something toxic. That's the critical mistake so many men make when they try to create distance. They use it as leverage or punishment. They turn absence into emotional warfare instead of healthy boundaries, a power move instead of genuine self-reflection. But emotional distance only creates genuine longing when it's wrapped in calm masculine energy, not chaos, not passive aggression, not manipulation. So here's the fundamental shift. If you want her to miss you, you have to step back in a way that feels clean and honorable, not cold or dismissive. Not fake or calculated, just genuinely quiet and self-contained. And I don't mean ghosting or disappearing like a coward. I mean stepping out of the emotional room with your dignity and integrity still completely intact. Here's what that actually looks like in practice. You don't send one last guilt trip text about how she's changed. You don't unfollow and refollow her social media to get her attention. You don't play that juvenile game where you mute her stories, but desperately hope she watches yours. That's reactive behavior. That's performance. And she can feel the manipulation energy from miles away. What she remembers, what she genuinely misses, is the man who didn't make his exit about punishing her for pulling away. Mature clarity is the birthplace of genuinely missing someone. Because when she feels your absence without manipulation or resentment attached, her nervous system doesn't go into defensive mode. It goes into reflection mode. She starts remembering the version of you that felt safe and attractive, not the one who made her feel guilty for having boundaries or needing space. So how do you actually do this with integrity? Step 1. Stop narrating your exit. No long texts explaining why you're stepping back. No, I guess you don't care about this manipulation. Let your energy shift before your words try to justify it. Step 2. Ground yourself in your own life and identity. Start doing things that reinforce who you are outside of her attention. Go back to the gym consistently. Pick up the book you haven't finished. Rebuild your inner frame, not for optics or to make her jealous, but for your own genuine well-being. Step 3. Stay off the performance stage completely. Don't perform your healing process. Don't post subtle jabs or passive-aggressive content. Let her absence speak to you, and let your absence speak to her. Because you know it's genuinely rare in today's world? A man who can step away quietly and still leave a positive echo in the room. And you make space, not noise. Most men, when they feel her slipping away, get louder and more desperate. Not always with words. Sometimes it's the overposting on social media. The strategic, let me show her I'm living my best life performance. The sudden gym selfies that scream insecurity. The playlist updates she's obviously meant to click on and analyze. It's all noise, and she hears it clearly. But it doesn't move her emotionally the way you want, because what she actually misses isn't your activity or content. It's your genuine presence. And there's a massive difference between the two. You want to know how to make her miss you for real? You stop trying so hard to be seen and noticed, and start creating genuine space where she feels the absence of your energy. Because here's the truth most men don't realize. Emotional impact isn't created in noise and performance. It's made in voids and silence. Women don't just remember what you said to them. They remember how they felt after you left the room. The energy that lingered. The space you created or disrupted. And if you're still trying to impress her with updates, distractions, or accidental likes on her content, you're not giving her genuine space. You're just rebranding your availability and desperation. Let me give you something real and concrete. There was someone in my life. We weren't in a serious relationship, but we had genuine depth and connection. Our conversations were layered, intimate, emotionally charged, and then things got complicated for reasons that don't matter here. He didn't ghost me like a coward. He didn't cling desperately either. He just quietly stepped out of the emotional room. No cryptic posts about moving on. No reaction to my Instagram stories. No parting shot or dramatic statement. And at first, I didn't feel his absence. I was too busy being unbothered and independent. But then, days went by. Then weeks. No echo of his energy anywhere. No noise or performance, just genuine space where he used to be. And that silence started to create a specific kind of ache, because it didn't feel like distance or rejection. It felt like he had made room, not just between us, but around himself. Like he was protecting something sacred about his own energy. And maybe for the first time, that sacred thing wasn't me or our connection. That's the part that actually hit me emotionally. Because you don't miss what's constantly in your face demanding attention. You miss what your emotional system got used to, and suddenly can't access anymore. So here's the practical move. First, stop treating attention like currency in your relationship. Every like, view, story watch, casual reply, it's an energy leak. A slow drip that communicates, I still desperately want you to notice me. Cut the leak completely. Second, let genuine quiet become your new form of presence. When she scrolls and doesn't see you performing. When she opens her messages and you're not there filling space. When her mind reaches for you in a moment of stillness. That's when real missing begins. Third, don't fill the space with performance or fake healing content. Fill it with genuine energy and self-development. Go deeper into yourself and your own life. Start showing up more fully, not online for her to see, but in your actual reality. Because you're not trying to be louder in her world or more visible on her feed. You're trying to become quieter in a way that draws her emotional attention inward. There's a specific kind of silence that's heavy and meaningful, weighted with presence, sacred and self-contained. That's the silence that lingers in someone's mind and heart. Not the kind you use to punish or manipulate, but the kind that signals you've stepped into something real and unshakable about yourself, something self-contained and complete. And that's what she ends up missing. Not the guy who made noise and demanded attention. The man who made genuine space for himself and others. She won't miss the version of you that clung desperately to connection. She won't miss the noise, the pressure, the performance, the anxiety. She'll miss the man who stepped back, not to be chased or to manipulate her emotions, but because he remembered who he was when he wasn't trying to be chosen by someone else. Because that kind of absence, it echoes in her mind and heart, and it stays with her. The man who disappears with dignity and self-respect becomes genuinely unforgettable. If this video helped you understand female psychology and attraction on a deeper level, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content that actually works. Thanks for watching.